A couple who breathes together stays together.
Yeah.
Put my best voice on.
Hey, love, how you going?
Hey, how are you? Hope you're having a great day.
How can you say no to that voice? Sorry, 70 balls in the tub. She got me.
She's got you by the balls, hasn't she?
I was in a drama loop and Andy goes, fucking shut up in the nicest possible way.
Hello and welcome to Unstoppable. I'm your host, Kerwin, and today we talk all things bounce. Now, you may have seen in health food shops and convenience stores all over the country and around the world those little bounce balls. Well, Paula and Andy are the founders of Bounce, which is an incredibly well-known product known for its signature protein energy balls, where their product is now sold in over 10,000 stores all over the world. And in this incredible podcast, we talk about all things building bounce, but also the importance of blissful ignorance when starting a business. I'm sure some of you understand exactly what I'm talking about. We talk about relationships as one of the key values of their companies and the challenge they face as partners in business and marriage. We also dive deep into some spiritual nature, where we talk about the transformational nature of breath work and cold water immersion that he learned when studying with the famous Wim Hof and Joe Dispenza. We touch on the decriminalization of marijuana, and we also have a bit of a chat about the psychotherapeutic benefits of MDMA, LSD, and other psychotropics and psychedelic therapies that have been used to treat everything from anxiety, depression, and PTSD. We discuss Andy's passion project, which is rule number 6 about not taking yourself too seriously, and parenting as a startup entrepreneur, and being open and honest about looking at yourself as the parent when the child acts up, and the behaviors that they're being modeled, and the emotional freedom technique that they've used to free themselves from wounds and years of baggage. Paula and Andy Harrington is going to be an incredible podcast. Bounce yourself over to the kitchen, grab yourself a cup of tea, and listen up. This episode is brought to you by Nail It and Scale It, the world's leading fast growth program for businesses. If you have ever wanted to grow your business faster than what you can right now, if you need to make more revenue, if you need more leads, if you need more clients, if you need to know how to plan your business in a strategic way in order to hit big goals, if you need to learn how to scale your business and grow your team and your business so that you have more freedom, then this program is for you. Imagine 3 days immersed with me where we cover all aspects of business, but we do it from an immersive but also an execution standpoint. We execute every step of the way. And we're looking at 5 key areas. We're looking at your psychology. We're looking at your marketing, your sales, your leadership, and we're looking at your planning and how we integrate these 5 key areas to grow your business and your brand quickly. So if you'd like to find out more information, kerwinray.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome to Unstoppable. We have Andy and Paula Hannagan of Bounce. Bounce by name, Bounce by nature.
Correct. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for coming in. Like, it's so nice the way that you reached out to me, because I've been a client of yours for a long time now, using your products as someone who travels a lot in the airports. It's a great way to grab some protein on the go. So for people who actually don't know who you guys are, why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are and Bounce?
Sure. Well, you're familiar with our balls then?
I love your balls. I cup them regularly.
We've had many ball jokes over the years, actually. Yeah. It never gets old, actually.
No, I bet how it all started.
Yeah. No, it's funny. We kind of naively stumbled into the business 14 years ago, and we kind of wanted to think outside of being paid for hourly rates for what we did. We were both trainers, and
we were both personal trainers, and I was a life coach and Andy was a business coach.
Okay.
So we were always into health and well-being and sort of helping people achieve their goals. And so we, like Andy said, it was like a happy coincidence just coming across an idea. And then I was traveling actually in New York, and have you been to New York?
I love New York.
Well, I just felt like, what it's like walking the streets of New York, and you just feel like anything's possible.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so I happened to stumble across a product which was nothing I'd ever had. And I came back to Australia with Andy, and I went, look at this. This is amazing. There's nothing like this. Do you think we could do something like this? And, we were very naive, blissfully ignorant, we'd like to say. And we just thought, well, why not? Let's have a crack at it,
By the way, how important is it to be blissfully ignorant in the early stages?
So important. Bounce would not be here if we weren't blissfully ignorant.
Yeah. If we knew what we knew, we probably would have thought very differently about going in.
Because I often think that's one of the areas that people make a mistake is they try and get too much information, and they get to the point where they have so much information they scare themselves. And I think that blissfully ignorant is a really important part. It's like falling in love.
You
need that part to really get you past the heavy stuff, or to drive you through those tough days. So you saw the product in New York, you came back here like, we can do this ourselves, and so is this like let's bring out the mixing bowls and do it at home?
No, it wasn't quite like that. I wish I could say that it was like that. But it was more like we thought, imagine having a product, a protein product, an everyday product that people could like and could eat. And I just saw it. I had a vision of these tubs on the checkouts. And so...
at Woolies.
That was
her vision. That's, she was just like, protein snacking, but... available for the masses.
So it was really it was sort of an idea and a branding idea, a concept, and then we've made contact with the manufacturer and really connected. Like, it was just one of those meant to be conversations.
Right.
And so our ideas and about product and flavours and etc. combined with the genius that the manufacturer had, and we ended up sort of falling into private labelling and then importing. So we basically had an importing business for many years.
So you actually sourced the product and white labelled through your own brand?
Yes, but we didn't know that we were doing that. We didn't even know what that was.
Okay, right.
So it was all very...
we just said, we love what you're doing, and can we do it in Australia, and can we put our own brand on it? And that were like the initial questions.
Yeah.
And they were just like, husband and wife, gig in Australia, of course,
How big a dink can they
fell in love with them.
That's kind of how it started for them too. So,
and we walked them through the process because they'd never exported.
Right.
So then we went, we'll just ring customs and find out what we need to do, and we'll fill out this form and we'll do that. And it evolved. It was very, very organic.
Yeah, right. So it's almost like, in many ways, it's a collaboration of sorts.
Yes.
And the business is still like that today.
Yes, we're on the cusp of changing that.
Okay.
But we've lasted 15 years.
That's a long time. That's a very long time.
Well, it is a long time.
Yeah.
That in itself is an achievement.
We think it's an achievement.
I think in business in general, 15 years is a long time. But in the supplement space, where there is a churn and burn, it's a very transient market. Because I've been a bodybuilder powerlifter since the age of 14, 15. And so I've been using subs proteins ever since I was like 14, 15.
Yeah.
And the amount of turnover I've seen, do you remember Balance? You came in the market, days and Maxes and everything. There's been so many products that come through, but you guys have really stuck in there.
We have actually, And I think it's probably because we are not necessarily all the way in from a sports perspective, but we kind of play more on the cusp of healthy snacking and protein. So snacking with purpose or function, as opposed to pure sports nutrition. Because you're right, with sports nutrition there tends to be Masashi was in there for a time, and all those bigger guys, Australian companies like Aussie Bodies and stuff, have definitely had to fight for their share as well. And even now, there's other American companies that come in and they just blow it up. They spend a lot of money. They take market share and shelf presence, but they don't necessarily last more than 2-3 years,
So 15 years, you've created quite a successful enterprise on any stretch, or anyone's standards. But I'm curious as to the genesis. You're both personal trainers, life coach, business coach. Had you experienced any kind of success at any level before, prior to doing this, or has it been a matter of, we're in Baskin Robbins right now, we're going to try the 52 flavours until we find the one that we want, and this was one that came up? Yeah,
well, look, and then I guess, level of success. It's like, if you want to go down this path of riding this roller coaster for 15 years, are you ready for that ride? Because it's going to give you a whole lot more learnings than we were having in playing in the sort of the small world of where we were, right? It's like suddenly now we're stepping out, and then obviously as you go further and further along that, the opportunities for growth and learning get, huge, in terms of the challenges that you're going to face. And, we were doing everything from, sending 6 pallets over on a container or shared within a container. I'd drive a budget bus down to the airport, pick up the pallets, driving back, unload them into the garage, pick and pack, unload them into the garage.
This is what I want.
Yeah. And that was the grind. Like, the first 200 stores I put on myself, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never really sold, but I thought I can go out and talk to people, because I got half a brain.
So is this literally shipment number one? You've rung up customs, you've put some branding in place, you get a massive, how many pallets was your first load?
Oh, the first pallet was actually probably about 3/4 of a pallet. So, but...
Had you sold the stuff before it landed?
No.
So you're like, this is a fucking great idea.
Yeah.
Let's find someone.
Yep.
I'm going to assume at this point, like, let's get some branding done up, some packaging done up, which was probably done by the...
Which was very bad branding in the beginning.
Yeah, it was.
It's had a few iterations between now and then.
Sometimes you look back at the stuff you think was bad and you go, it was actually pretty clean. It was nice and clean, and it was unmistakable.
Yes.
It was a cellophane wrapper with a barcode on it.
Oh, is that the original?
That was the original. And then it was in a tub that had 70 balls in the tub. She got me.
She's got you by the balls, hasn't she?
Right,
That's how it all started.
And 70 units in a canister is what we had. It was $134, 40 cents, because I used to walk into stores with my little bag in the health food stores.
One tub under each arm, and he'd say, "You want to buy my balls?"
Yeah. and then there wasn't really anywhere else to put them as opposed to just near the cash register. So we just inadvertently got all this placement right at checkout in all these in the first 200 stores. So we like to tell people that was part of the strategy, but it wasn't. It was just how the product came.
It was just how.
I was just like, we're going to give you, 70 units in one go. Now, like most of our sales are done in a 12-unit box.
Yeah, right.
Not a 70-unit canister,
Okay.
So, but that's part of the naivety going to market. So we didn't really know, and
And I think part of the success was the relationships that we had with people. Like, relationships is one of our key values.
Right.
So
when you were picking up those 200 stores, you weren't just picking up 200 stores, you were creating 200 relationships.
Absolutely. And so for me, I had a spreadsheet of everybody that was on there, and we'd go, it's about due for a payment. So I'd ring up and say, you put my best voice on.
Hey, love, how you going?
Hey, how are you? Hope you're having a great day.
How can you say no to that voice? Right.
Would you mind paying your invoice? It's coming due. And they'd go, yeah, of course. Oh, by the way, I need more. And I went, that's a way to get another order.
Yeah.
So we learned customer service quite by accident as well.
Yeah.
So
just by doing the right thing.
Yes.
Just by doing the right thing. Yeah. So it was very organic and
self-funded from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume sometimes in those first few years, what were some of the major things that just went to shit that you didn't predict that were going to happen, that just happened, and they happened spectacularly?
Stock on water, getting stuck in customs.
Okay.
You can't fulfill orders. We
Exchange
started in
rate?
04, and then in 09 we had a massive recall that was like, we thought it was going to wipe us out completely.
Wow.
And it was a salmonella scare of a peanut butter supplier in the US, but they just shut down everything. So everything that was sort of related to it. So that was our number one selling product in the market, and we just said, oh my God.
Wow.
Somehow we survived that.
Yeah, we had to. We had a lot of great support from our manufacturer to get through that, but we did think that in 2009 we thought that was one of the moments.
That was going to be a possible.
Yeah.
Where we thought it was going to all fall over.
Were you affected much by the GFC when they came?
Not as much. We sort of stayed flat through those years, and the main reason being is that our economy was sort of propped up by the amount of commodities that we were selling into China, so that as a country, Australia wasn't anywhere near as affected. When it first happened, the exchange rate went to 55 cents, so that hurt for sure. So we had to shrink margins. But then after that, I think you remember that in the 18 months or 2 years past that sort of 07, 08 period, our exchange rate went to parity. And then it was $1.10. So we were
laughing.
We went from 55 cents to $1 and $1.10. So you have to ride out those, and those are uncontrollables, right? Because then you go, okay, well then we've got a margin structure. We can't just keep fluctuating our prices in the market to our customers. So you just got to suck it up. Otherwise you're just seen as being flippant. So
yeah, right.
So that's the FX, component and risk.
And what about in your personal lives? Because one of the things that I've learned is, personal life and business life, they're never actually separate. And sometimes, we could be out there pursuing our desire to build this glorious business, and from the outside we go, wow, 15 years later you've built this incredible brand. Yeah. Wow, you guys must have all your shit together. Like, you guys, perfect relationship, perfect kid. Have you got kids?
Yeah.
How old?
14 and 9.
Okay.
2 girls.
And so what has been some of the challenges? Because this is one thing I learned, because I feel very grateful. I've got an incredible ex-wife. She's amazing. One of the reasons that she is my ex-wife is because we did actually work together, and we worked out a little slowly that we probably were better off not working together.
Right. Yeah.
But as a result of that, I've got this enormous level of respect for any couple that can work together and find a healthy dynamic where they can allow the relationship to not only survive but prosper. Yeah. And I can see the dynamic between you two. Like, there's a real bounce. So you guys really do bounce off each other. Yeah. How have you managed the dynamic side, the relationship side, when there are times where you're like, hey, I just need you to do a fucking. I've got you by the balls. I need you to do a job. Yeah. How do you manage that?
That's a really good question. I think we really respect each other. Okay. We're aware of each other's strengths and weaknesses. Okay. Like, we're actually quite different, but we really complement each other. But at the same time, if Andy's going through a rough time and he's acting out or having a moment, I'm learning. I'm not saying I've never done it, but I'm learning not to react and to let him have his space. And so it's just being committed to our relationship and working on that, working on ourselves as well in the relationship. Like, we need to, we're basically both really committed to personal growth. So we're both growing together.
So there's personal growth. Has that been a theme throughout your relationship, where you've both been into and interested in pursuing personal growth?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've done a lot of coaching, a lot of therapy ourselves. We're continually working on ourselves. We see everything that comes up as an opportunity to grow. Like, we've had issues, major issues in our relationship that we've navigated because of that, like taking responsibility for our own part in it, I think is really important. Being willing to...
What's some of the most successful work you've done as a couple when it comes to the therapeutic or the healing side of your relationship?
I think
the breathing.
Last
holotropic breath work?
Wim Hof method. I don't know if you've heard of Wim Hof.
Very familiar,
Yeah. So, I'm sure that you're very familiar with him. I think that it's been interesting just in all the different things that you delve into and meditate and learn, read podcasts and so forth. And then it's that watering the seeds and having discipline on a daily basis, which I think is really sort of paramount with any of these sort of things that you're going to do for yourself. But the breathing work and the cold water work has actually been transformational, particularly for me personally. And at one point in the last 12 months, Paula was sort of going down the path with the Joe Dispenza train. Great. So she was going down that path, and I was, listening to a lot of his stuff as well. And we were also listening to Abraham Hicks. We think she's got some really good insights in terms of her workshops that she runs. Do you know her?
I'm familiar with her. Yes. I've never done any of her work or read any of her books, but I've watched a couple of small videos here and there and heard lots of people talk about her.
Yeah.
It's about vibration and managing energy and...
There's a universal message in there.
Yes. Totally. Yeah. And it's all related. All the different avenues, it all comes to the same thing. It's just what works for each person. But for me, I was going down the Joe Dispenza route, which is all about sort of meditating and changing all parts of self. And I started to do a bit of a doozy on myself, and I started realising that I was trying to, my sort of, lifetime issue is trying to fix myself all the time. So Andy was doing the breath work, and he was just staying above it, and I was like in this sort of drama, and I was trying to suck him into it, and he was like going, sorry babe, I'm not going there, and I felt like for a moment really abandoned, like you're not coming with me, like you don't care about me. But what he did was the most loving thing, because he said, I'm not going down there. You need to stop that drama. And so we're calling each other on our bullshit a lot more now.
Breathwork is so powerful. Wim stuff is incredible. I don't know if you've explored holotropic breathwork at all. holotropic. I'm trying to remember the doctor that actually created the process, but he.
Is that the Oxygen Advantage? Is that guy, Patrick?
No, he's basically a doctor from the late 1960s who was around at the time when. What's the guy who formulated LSD?
Terence McKenna.
No, he was who popularised it. It was Albert Hoffman. So who was I talking about before I went Albert Hoffman?
Wim Hof.
Wim Hof.
Yeah. So
when they outlawed LSD, because they were doing an enormous amount of really good, and I know we had a quick chat off camera before about how there's a lot of research now that is coming available around the therapeutic benefits of psychedelics. Mm-hmm. And when the psychedelics got outlawed in the late 1960s, there was so much incredible research that had been done, around people being treated for a range of mental health disorders and conditions. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to continue to pursue the work, but they didn't have access to LSD anymore. And so they basically started looking at all these Eastern mystical practices where they'd been able to induce, high DMT-like states without the presence of a molecule.
Yes, through breathwork.
Yeah. And that's where breathwork came in. I actually had no idea just how powerful it was. And it took me 12 goes of doing holotropic breathwork until one day I was literally sitting at home on the couch, started huffing, just started breathing. I was like, this feels different. No kidding. 30 seconds later, I had on par with a DMT breakthrough experience.
Yes.
Wow.
It was absolutely incredible. And all the psychotherapeutic benefits that come with that.
Yes.
So have you experienced that kind of a sensation yourself?
Yeah, through the breathwork.
Yeah. Most mornings.
Yeah.
So you do that every morning, you're doing DMT.
We breathe. We breathe together. We go, a couple who breathes together stays together.
Yeah. But no, I think that this is really, it has been transformational. Like it's something now that I use as a tool in my own kit bag that I've used more and relied on more than any of the other stuff that I've learnt.
Because it surpasses thought.
Yeah.
It gets you out of your head. And if you're a head person, which I am, like I can do my head in quite easily, the breath work takes you out of that. And it lifts the energy from the lower chakras into the upper chakras. And I often see this like bright light, white light coming from my third eye.
And for sure, it lights the chakras up, and I'll lie there with my hand on my chest and my heart feels like it's going to explode most mornings from bliss.
Wow.
And then I'll lie there after the 3 sets, or if I do 3 sets and it was a particularly good sort of ecstasy experience.
You'll do another set.
I'll go again,
Why not?
Yeah. What's Dad doing up there? He's knocking out of bed. Knocking out of bed.
He just knocked 3 times.
Yeah. So and then combining it with some cold water work. You know, so the cold showers and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's another sort of piece to the equation too. So at the moment it's good because our houses in Australia aren't insulated mostly, and if the water's cold right now, which is good. So there's a bit of a mental challenge that goes on just before getting in the shower and jumping in and then the cold water, and then you can actually work with it in order to heat your core up and it actually, you can actually...
Okay.
Well, within 10 seconds of breathing under the cold shower, you feel okay. Just feels normal. It's fascinating.
So have you done any other work with psychedelics or like with shamans, South Americans? Like it seems to be becoming quite popular. Look, it's been popular since the 1960s in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Using psychedelics for everything from creative purposes to psychotherapeutic purposes.
Yep.
But what we're now seeing is we're seeing like this third wave come in. It's becoming quite popular. I don't know if you read the book Stealing Fire.
No.
Great book. Incredible book written by a guy, Steve Kohler. I think it's Steve Kohler, who's a part of the Flow Genome Project.
Right.
Where they're essentially been researching now for I think it's a couple of decades into the science behind flow state and how do we achieve heightened flow state. And they basically look at 3 areas of technology. They look at mysticism. They look at technology. So what technology we can use to access flow states. Mysticism, so everything from rituals, breathing, meditation, and they look at then pharmacology, so nootropics, psychedelics, and we're seeing there's a lot of attention now being put on psychedelics from a psychotherapeutic. A lot of people going to the Amazon doing ayahuasca.
Yes.
But also from a performance perspective now, we're hearing a lot of people, executives and the like, entrepreneurs, microdosing, LSD, psilocybin.
Absolutely, I haven't bought my kit yet, but that's next.
So you're open to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I definitely really... I'm fascinated in what that can do, and just been decriminalised in Colorado and in Oakland, California.
Psilocybin now legal.
So they're the first 2 to decriminalise it in the US. And I think that following on from what they've done with hemp and marijuana in the US, that will come. That's the next wave that's going to come. It'll probably take a little bit longer, but there's certainly a desire for understanding what are the properties that we've got available to us in those sorts of substances. Because even with marijuana and hemp, that whole thing has now been uncovered. Thank God, that it got out of its hole that it was put in. Yeah. And now it's back into an environment where it can actually have the impact that it can rightfully have with humanity, not just from a wellness perspective, but also on the soil, the planet, water. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Miracle plant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the same with psilocybin. Like I really believe that there's opportunities medicinally with that, with the plant. And if you think about the root system within the mushroom network, and within the forest, and the forest talk to each other, and the mushroom root system, it's like the networks in the brain, and it knows where anything is going on within its own sort of group in the root system, so it can divert nutrients to wherever it needs. And it's the same thing with the brain. It's like it can light things up in a way that's been dormant. That's why it's having such profound effects with people that are in deep depression. So I think that there's so much to go in terms of us exploring that,
because and it's interesting. Every time I have this conversation with people go, there is so much research to be done. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? Since 1944, we've researched the fuck out of these substances. We have literally, in some cases, hundreds of case studies from some of the most prestigious universities in the world where they have documented the psychotherapeutic value of MDMA. They've documented the psychotherapeutic value of LSD, psilocybin, where they've had people with treatment-resistant depression. They've had people who've been in treatment in some cases 5 to 10 years, healed within 1 to 2 sessions. It's absolutely incredible.
Yes.
So to me, the evidence is there, like it has been with marijuana.
Yes.
Okay, the evidence was there. It's just now becoming a little bit more mainstream.
And Charlotte's Web, which is one of the biggest CBD brands in the US right now, was built on the back of a young girl, Charlotte, who had chronic epilepsy, and she's just one of many, that has now got a cure. Yeah. Not just hey, I'm going to make your pain better. It's as soon the very first day that she took, and she was having 100 epileptic fits a day. And the very first day that she took CBD, she immediately stopped. Beautiful. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. Well,
this is certainly going somewhere that we maybe didn't know it was going to go. So what's next for Bounce? You guys have, I've seen you did a rebrand a couple of years ago.
Yes.
It looks great, by the way.
Thank you.
Product packaging looks fantastic. But I'm curious as to what's next, because you've got the ball range. You seem to have your distribution sorted out.
Yes.
There's a shift with manufacturing that's coming up.
Yep.
Anything new in the pipeline?
Yes, we've got a couple of new product ranges coming. They're a little bit, we can't really, we're not at liberty to share. Secret science. But we've got a couple of new ones coming, which is really exciting. We're also moving to local manufacturing, which is going to be a big task in itself.
Yeah, wow.
So
you're taking the manufacturing in-house?
Yes.
Okay. That's a big commercial play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's a necessary play.
Okay.
The
manufacturer has too much. Have you guys too much by the balls, literally, or?
I think from an import perspective,
it's the business model is not sustainable long term, and it's just too many external factors that you can't control.
Right.
So we're just ready to have a bit more control over it, and also Australian made product.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's about partnering with a manufacturer. Not from us doing it from scratch. It's like finding a partner. That's
we know what our skills are.
We're willing to commit with us and then come along the journey. So, we're not doing it from scratch.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys have really identified your skill set with what you do. And I'm going to assume that's more on the front end in terms of the product marketing and the distribution side?
Yeah. Yeah, and new product development for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really want to know what these new products are. Can I guess?
They've got protein in them.
I'm going to guess.
They've definitely got protein in them.
You don't have to nod. I'm going to guess that you've got a plant-based protein ball coming through.
We've already got a plant-based range.
You do?
Yeah. You didn't know?
No.
I can talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we need to talk about that because I didn't know you had a plant-based range.
Yeah, we've got a vegan range.
When did that come out? That's going to make me look like an idiot, isn't it?
Oh, no. We launched. We did a soft launch probably about a year ago, and we were a little bit too niche on the flavours. So then we've just reworked it. So we've got some really good.
Same levels of protein?
I think we're maxing at 10,
Okay.
10 grams, 8 to 10, because if you go too high with plant-based protein, it can get a bit grainy.
Yeah.
So it's finding that balance between enough protein, good texture,
Yep.
good overall
Yeah.
experience, because it's just got to taste great.
Yeah,
If
right.
it doesn't taste great, it's not going to be consumed.
So my second guess is a collagen product. And you're going to tell me you've got a collagen product coming out already. Have you got one?
No,
No.
not quite.
Not quite?
No.
No, I'm close. I'm sorry. And what about other markets? Because I know you're a global brand now.
Yes.
Well, we've had our experience in the US too. So we were talking.
Did you know
about,
that we'd moved to the US for 4 years?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you were over there when
Yeah.
you first contacted me.
Correct. Yeah. So, back to where we started with being naive. Like we were naive in Australia. We went sort of naively into the UK too quickly, and then we then had an opportunity in Canada to sort of open up that market. A very funny story, actually. I've got to tell you this because the guy that who was the buyer at Loblaws. So Loblaws is like Coles and Woolworths, but in Canada.
Right.
And his name's Aaron. He doesn't work at Loblaws anymore, but his name's Aaron Skelton. He emailed me on a Friday night, and I'm on a houseboat in the Hawkes River playing poker, drinking beers with a bunch of mates, smoking a few tips. So I get this email through from Loblaws, and I've just brushed him off. I emailed him back. I said, mate, I'm on a boat playing poker, and I'll check you on Monday. And he thought it was the funniest thing ever. He's just like, who the fuck is this guy? He can blow me off, right? And then on Monday we spoke, and then got connected, and we're still doing business with Loblaws. That was like 10 years ago.
Wow.
But anyways, a funny story. And then we went to the US, and naively we went to the US. There was something for me about just wanting to play in that sandpit.
Something about that market.
Yeah. And so naively we took the plunge, went to Oregon, took the girls obviously, and went all in. And the energy bar and nutrition bar set in the US is about 10 times bigger than it is here.
Yeah, right.
And so, it's a wall as big as that,
Yep.
It's that wall full of products.
Full of products, and there's 5 or 6 sort of 600-pound gorillas, and then a very long tail of people trying to win market share. So we sort of went into that market thinking that we could
have a go,
have a crack.
Yeah.
And I'd rather.
And we did.
And I'd rather do
first couple of years. We were the new darling of the industry.
In 2000, so we moved in 2014, and in 2016 we just got listed in a Trader Joe's. Do you know that brand,
Yep.
Trader Joe's?
Yep.
Yeah. So they negotiated with us for a little while and said, hey, can you make us a product? And we said no. It's our brand, or it's us or nothing. And they finally relented and said, okay, well then you come in. And so within their energy bar set, within their stores, it's not very big at all. It's very small. So then we're the sort of new kids on the block.
Okay.
And they pumped us with POs in the first sort of 6 months, like you can't believe. I was just like, we just couldn't keep up. Like it was crazy business. So in 2016 at Expo West, which is the big natural products expo, we had retailers coming to us. We had private equity all over us. We're just like, yeah, here we go. So we doubled down on everything.
Wow.
And we built the team. So we had about 15 people across the country. And the US is very different than in Australia. Most of your people are going to be working in remotely because it's such a big place, and you got to get around. So. But we doubled down, and we raised a ton of money and sort of went for it. And then 9 months later, Trader Joe's kicked us out. And then suddenly now we're a brand that's domiciled on the West Coast, and you end up in a store on the East Coast, and no one knows diddly squat of your brand against anything else. And they go to that big wall and they shop on price, and we got
schooled.
Yeah,
we got schooled.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
Well, great lesson by the sounds of it.
Oh,
amazing.
Yeah.
You're going back after the US. Oh, you're still in the US, aren't you?
We're retracting at the moment.
Retracting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're focusing our energy here in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be the big fish in the small pond.
Yeah. It was costing,
because Australia is actually a good market to own.
Yeah.
When you think about it, because a lot of people, and I've seen this happen, a lot of people get intoxicated with the prospect of the US.
Yes.
And it's actually brought a lot of big men undone, big girls undone as well, big businesses undone. Where they go, if I can just crack that US market, so you know what, just be happy here sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and that's what happened to Swiss. So the Swiss group did the same thing, and they went much bigger than us.
Yes,
right.
You know, I think also there was something about our product offering that the Americans like everything big.
Yeah.
So our product is a small little ball. It packs a punch nutritionally and it satisfies, but if you haven't tried it and you're seeing a small bounce ball compared to a big Cliff Bar's 99 cents, and we couldn't get our price to compare, then, you know, you can't blame them. And the other thing was...
Because it really is premium nutrition. Yeah.
It is absolutely premium nutrition, but you need to put the marketing dollars behind it. And after, you know, we were just burning cash, and we just had to pull back on the marketing. The more you pull back on the marketing, the more the sales don't. So it was just a massive learning experience.
Did you just take investors for the US market? You are wholly owned over here?
Yeah, well, our piece of the equation, which was Australia, the US, and Canada, was raising money. It was within that group.
Gotcha.
So that's the other thing. I mean, I went into I don't know how many private equity boardrooms. I got used to it. You know, 5 of them. And you can just talk and.
So you you did a few rounds of capital raising.
Yeah. But also then you get used to it. Like you get used to building the decks. You get used to putting the information together. Then you get to talk.
It's an amazing skill set you've got now.
It is incredible. How much did you end up raising?
About 10.
Yeah, nice. That's how many rounds?
It was about. That was 3.
That's great. That's solid effort, mate.
Yeah. No, it is. And look, you know, I think like there was a company that came in after us when we were in the US called RX Bar. I don't know whether you know those guys. They had a very different strategy when they went to market in the US, and they completely blew up in a very, very short period of time. They had a very sort of refined ingredient.
Prescriptive. Their labelling was, you know, 3 eggs, 6 almonds. You know, it was very.
I've seen them.
Very well done. Incredible packaging.
It was.
and marketing.
It was actually very well done. And they went after the CrossFitters, and so they built their online strategy in the US first, and then they got so big from the groundswell that they had online. Then the retail started opening up. So that was a really good thing to watch, although we're just like, shit, man.
We should have done that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. Like, do you guys have an online strategy, direct to consumer, or are you guys staying out of that?
In Australia, I think...
It's a bit more difficult in Australia because we have such a good presence in the supermarkets and we don't want to compete.
Yeah.
So, we do have online, but we don't compete.
Yeah. But definitely if we had our time again and went into the US, I would definitely follow a model where, once you go into distribution and into retail, you can lose a lot of control in your supply chain and your margin structure. So it kind of it gets a lot harder to control that. Whereas if you're in an online environment, you can, you know, set up your funnels, set up your marketing. You can actually
track your ROI.
You can actually track your dollars, and then is it working? Do I dial it up? Dial it down? You know. So, but for now we had to sort of back out.
What about Amazon? Has that had any impact on you guys at all? You doing anything there?
We sold in Amazon. Amazon was one of our best customers in the US.
Right.
And we sold to Amazon.com.au and have sold to Amazon Canada and stuff as well. So yeah, definitely playing with them.
Okay.
But we're still trying to figure out what it means for us here in Australia versus you know, what it was
so we've gone back to doing the import model, export model, I should say.
And so well, we know there's some secret squirrel stuff coming for Bounce. What about for you guys? Are you guys starting to think about another project from here, or are you still all in on Bounce? Like what's
funnily enough.
Funnily enough, so when we got back to the US, when we got back to Australia from the US, we'd already had we still do have a team a CEO and a CFO and a management team that run the business here. So when we came back, I was a little bit third wheel, and I was just like, where do
I belong?
Yeah, kind of, which was a bit strange. So then, because when we lived in Oregon, we saw marijuana go recreational, I was just like, oh my God, that was quite amazing to see all that sort of come to life. So I'm playing with hemp and CBD and trying to add some value to some other businesses and help them set up their sort of strategic intent with their products and geography.
It's going to be fucking huge.
Yeah,
it's going to be massive in this country.
Yeah, it is. And look, and there's still lots to do everywhere.
Heaps.
You know, there is so much to do. So it's trying to sort of connect the dots. So I'm able to, with the experience over the last 14 years, understand supply, co-manufacturing relationships? What are the retail and commercial opportunities? Is distribution and retail better for this product line versus online?
Yeah.
So I can have a point of view on those sorts of things.
And if you look back at all of our experiences, he now has this blank canvas that he can go, I know what to do now. I won't do that. I won't do that. I won't do that. You know, it's just such a wealth of learning that you get from making all those mistakes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
But
that's what we sell ourselves anyway. It feels better.
My pet project is getting
Rule number 6.
Yeah. So what I used to be a part of EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organisation, and we went to a business conference about 10 years ago. Saw this guy Cameron Herold. He gave us this lecture or this talk at one of the conferences, and told us what rule number 6 is, and it was basically these two, Prime Minister and a President, having a conversation, and it comes out that one of the Prime Ministers was getting interrupted by one of their support people, and he kept telling that person to apply the rule, and don't forget rule number 6. So anyways, as it turns out, there's no rules 1 to 5. There's only one rule, number 6, and it's don't take yourself so fucking seriously. And I just thought that it was hilarious. So in our little forum 10 years ago, we all thought it was hilarious, and there was a couple other guys in my forum. We just thought it was hilarious. 2 or 3 years later, I actually started getting T-shirts printed, handing them out at trade shows in the US to people that we thought could carry the banner and apply the rule because they didn't take themselves too fucking seriously.
Yeah, right.
And they loved the T-shirts. So then we would hand these T-shirts out, and then they would wear them proudly as ambassadors to.
Jeez, I hope you bought me a T-shirt.
To communicate the
He'll
rule.
take his shirt off his back and give it to you. That's what he does. He's been known to do that.
My guy.
I have done that, actually.
He did it. Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, but that's
and so that's something you want to develop. Rule number 6.
I just think it's funny, I just think projects like that are funny, and without sort of trying to think of how are we going to commercialise. I just think it's funny.
What would be fun?
Yeah.
What would be fun?
Exactly.
So you've got three daughters. Two daughters. At what ages again? It was
9 and 14.
9 and 14. So you had a 1-year-old when you guys kicked this off.
Yeah.
How have you balanced the whole spinning plates of being parents, partners, lovers, husbands, wives, at the same time, especially with the kids? How did you balance that as entrepreneurs?
Well, in the early stages, we worked from home. Okay. So when
are you still pretty home based now?
We are now.
Right. Yeah. But you've got the business has its own operation.
Yep. So I'd put the Stella down for a sleep and then I'd work.
Yeah.
So I had that flexibility, and I still really value that flexibility, being able to go drop the kids off to school, pick them up, just work my own hours, So that's how we made it work. I mean, it was pretty stressful. Having all our eggs in one basket for 15 years has been really stressful.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's one of the things that we've noticed in Andy sort of exiting to do this other role. And for me, I'm starting to move into other things as well. It just gives us sort of some other financial streams of income, because when you're reliant on one stream of income, and then when it's good, it's great, and when things are challenging, it sort of threatens your livelihood, and you can't help but the kids pick it up. Like we've got a couple of kids who are very, very sensitive and very aware.
Yep.
So they, you can't really hide anything from them. So we try, like Stella will sort of say to me, Mum, you're pretty stressed, aren't you? Are you okay? And I'll say, yeah, I am stressed, but it's nothing you need to worry about. So I think it's really important to acknowledge what they're picking up, so that their intuition is, you're saying, yep, your intuition's right.
Yeah, right.
But it's not your burden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, we've just step by step, we just
Sometimes they will say to us, can you guys shut that up,
We don't want to talk about business.
Yeah, stop your business talk, you know. So they definitely,
They've probably got a little a business degree, though, from listening in and seeing what's going on.
Are they showing any entrepreneurial traits at all so far?
Our little one, Frankie, our 9-year-old.
Yeah.
She is the negotiator.
Yeah.
She is such a negotiator. In fact, her teacher chose her to go to an entrepreneur's workshop for the school.
Yeah, and it's funny.
And she goes, why do you think they picked me? I said, because you're showing entrepreneurial traits. She goes, no, I think it's because my mum and dad own a business.
Right, yeah. But it's I don't think you ever like get the formula and then it's locked in. It's just an ever evolving,
constantly changing, adapting,
flowing. Trying to make sure that we've got boundaries and that we, you can actually devote time to, being present, with them.
Yeah, and they're our gauge as well. They'll let us know.
Yeah.
And
so the canary in the cage in many ways. Like
if they're acting up or there's something wrong with them, it's always a good opportunity to look at yourself.
Yeah.
What's going on for me?
The canary in the coal mine, I should say.
Yeah. So if Stella gets really stressed, she's very conscientious, so she gets really stressed about assessments. And so I went in trying to support her. I need to look and go, well, what do I need? I'm pretty stressed at the moment.
And I think that and this is what something Abraham talks about as well. You never get a certificate to say that you're aware. It's just an everyday. It's an everyday
moment by moment.
Are you awake today? Because some days we're more awake than others, right?
Yeah.
Some days we're more aware than others, and I think that that's really important for us to sort of try and have that barometer for ourselves within the family dynamics.
And I think the fact that we're both on our own journeys, we can gently remind each other. What I wanted to say is I had to tell you this story. So the other day I was in a drama loop about something.
Yep.
You know what a drama loop is?
Yep.
Yeah. And Andy and I are learning to get out of those really quickly.
Nice.
And so I was in one and I was going on about it and Andy goes, fucking shut up in the nicest possible way. In the nicest possible way, he added at the end. And I thought...
Vote one for Andy.
I thought... And because of where our relationships got to, I went, yeah, you're right. Thanks.
Well, it's like Mel Robbins.
I didn't get offended.
No.
I just went, we've got that.
How beautiful is that?
It's so beautiful. So for everything that we've been through, to have a relationship where he can say that to me and I can receive it and go, you love me, and that's why you said that.
Yeah.
So...
And I think, but back to the kids and stuff as well, I think that it's important for us, because they're obviously modelling everything consciously and unconsciously. So, the more awake and aware we are, I think the better for us just in general. And then talking to them about the things that we read, listen to, do on a daily basis. They understand we do breath work, etc. But even, of a night time, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, we sort of at the dinner table will during the course of dinner we'll have an exercise that we go through where everyone has to give thanks for 3 things.
I love that.
And you have to acknowledge everybody else at the table and then acknowledge yourself. And everyone gets the floor and everyone gets the...
It's very profound.
It is very profound.
It's very profound. The kids kind of like blow our minds sometimes with what they say.
Yeah. But also everyone's getting their own little gift as well because, then the kids are looking at you and giving you something, but you're able to think about them thoughtfully, which is really, really interesting. It's a great... We don't do it every night, but when we do it, we always find that
special.
There's definitely something good in it for us. So I think if the kids, when we're sort of managing the sort of energy of the kids and our relationship with them and the boundaries, et cetera, and then putting all those things into the mix with them, then I think that it helps.
And they're not always wanting to listen either.
No,
if we've got exactly. But have you ever heard of EFT, emotional tapping?
Of course, I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
EFT, NET.
Well, when we were on our knees, actually the last year of being in the US, there was a lot going on, and we were probably at our lowest, I'd say. We started doing tapping.
Yeah, right.
And before work, tap in the car like some crazy person. But honestly, it was amazing, and it really helped us manage those emotions and just be able to focus and get ourselves through that period. And so if the kids are going through stuff, I'll do a tapping with them.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and they don't think it's too... I mean, they will still, at that age where they'll do something weird like that with us, they're not completely rejecting it.
Not yet. Not yet. That's right. I was going to say give it time, but you never know these days.
Yeah.
It could become quite fashionable with kids.
Yeah. Well, we've pretty much exposed them to everything that's weird.
Well, you must do the same, though, with your boy,
my
right?
son, he's 5.5. He knows how to heal with his hands. We talk about leadership on a regular basis.
Right.
He understands
That's awesome.
energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have big conversations.
Yes.
Magic and intention and
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to me, I see being a father because I'm such a performance nut, to me it's the ultimate case study. It's the ultimate experiment. Like I love to work with people every day, but here's a human being. I actually get to play a huge role in moulding.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like you say, they pick up everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, that's why I say, people say, the fucking millennials. I was like, who fucking raised them? They're modelling something.
Yes.
They're modelling someone.
Yes.
They're not just doing it because they think it's fucking going to agitate the old people.
Yeah.
Well, and it's often like those dinner time, like around the table conversations, like what are you talking about as a family, right? And there's very, and I remember when we were growing up, it's like you didn't talk about money because money didn't grow on trees, and I didn't actually really get a download from my dad about how his
You didn't
job
talk about your emotions.
No, exactly.
No,
and you had to eat boiled broccoli with no.
They didn't know how to do Brussels sprouts well at that stage.
Brussels sprouts.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts without any bloody.
I was a ninja getting fucking vegetables off my table under my shirt and flushing them down the toilet with nobody seeing them. I was a fucking ninja until I got caught.
Right.
Guys, honestly, this has been a really enjoyable conversation. But in order to finish this off, like, you've clearly been around the traps. You've seen a lot in the last 15 years of business, and not just 15 years of business, but life. I'm going to ask you independently, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Or can give?
Okay, good. Okay. Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good husband. Good man. Correct.
The best piece of advice is probably that I would give is surround yourself with good people and don't make decisions out of fear. Because if I look back, and I've been detailing the story of Bounce because I'm just doing some sort of playing around with writing a bit at the moment. And in looking back, I can see that sort of the decisions that didn't end up the way we wanted them to, was because we were in a state of fear.
Yeah, right.
So that would be my advice. Just don't make any decisions, take a breath, pause, wait till, look at what doors are opening, what doors are closing, and go where the doors are open. And if the doors are closing, don't keep banging on it, because you can get injured that way. That's my advice. And yours?
I think that finding what deeply motivates you and what are you passionate about, is something that's because when it gets tough, and if you don't have a passion that you're following, it's a lot harder to get out of bed when the grind is on, because the grind's going to be on no matter which pathway you go down in terms of doing some amazing things. And I think also not rushing. Gary Vee's big on this as well. I'm a big believer in that, life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And, you get these unicorn stories that they tell about, businesses that blow up and sell for billions of dollars, which are unicorns. Like it's in a 0.00 something %. And it's not like business isn't Hollywood. Like that's not, business is very different. So if you're passionate about something and you can actually last for the longer race and be patient, keep nurturing yourself along that journey, then you've got a much greater chance of surviving.
And don't give up the personal growth. Because there was a period where we stopped doing those things that really supported ourselves. We stopped meditating. We stopped all the things that I would do with my as a life coach. Yep. I stopped doing, and that was a period of. It feels like we fell asleep for a period of time, and then the USA was like a wake up call. Okay. Like we woke up, and then we started to implement those strategies again, and get ourselves into a really good feeling place, and an unconditional feeling place where you can feel good. Shit can hit the fan, but because we've learned to manage our own energy and our vibration, then we're not going to and fro with the experiences. And that's been I've only just learning that this year, 15 years down the track. Yeah, so I think whatever you do going into business, you're going to get your unique personal journey. It's going to be different for everybody, but I think if you can go in and just commit to being aware and looking and asking, what's this about? That is really, really important. I'd recommend that too.
And so is there a book coming? That is a big question.
That's what I'm working on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll put it out there. Coming to bookstores in September 2020.
Give me a year, okay.
Yeah.
Bounce is the premier Australian supplement story. The premier Australian snack story.
I love that. Thank you.
No, it's great. Fantastic. Well, honestly, it's been my pleasure to have you both here. Thank you so much for coming down.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been great
If people want to find out more about you, though, like obviously there's bounce.com. Is that right?
.com.au. Bouncefoods.com.au is the website.
Okay, and what about for you guys? Do you have your own personal brand set up, or you're not doing that at this point yet?
I'm just starting to play with it. I've got a little personal Instagram account.
Yeah, what's that?
It's Paula _Hannagan _founder.
There we go.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
And you're still the silent guy.
Well,
he's not silent by any means.
I've got rule number 6 set up, but
Yeah.
I haven't got anything personally out there in terms of my own name right now. But
is there anything in there for rule number 6 that people can go have a look at?
yeah, just the URL. And there's
Rule6.com?
there's an Instagram handle and stuff like that.
Rule number 6.
Rule number 6. Yeah.
Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
down.
you.
All right, good on you.
My pleasure.
See ya.
This episode was brought to you by Nail It and Scale It, the world's leading fast growth program for business. There you have it, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Unstoppable with me, your host, Kerwin Ray. And please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you get to see all of these interviews in the flesh. Share this podcast with your friends and drop me a review on iTunes. I would love to hear what you guys think, and also let you know that your comments help make sure that we keep producing killer content just like this. And if you'd like to stay up to date with all of my movements, upcoming podcasts, events, and much more, please jump onto the website kerwinray.com and also check us out on all social media on the handle @KerwinRay. Thanks for joining us.